Well, good morning and welcome to City Hall. We'll get started with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Abbess Shi Jin Ren is here to lead us in the invocation. And afterwards, I'll ask Councilman Pat Ryan if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and remind everyone that today is Councilman Ryan's birthday. So happy birthday, Pat. That's right. Abbess?
Let us awaken the bell of liberty. May the wisdom within resound. Let ignorance and delusion recede eternally. May the blossoms of enlightenment flourish. Let us awaken the bell of compassion. May unconditioned love and kindness abound. Let hatred and sorrow decline from the world. May joy and happiness forever unfold. Let us awaken the bell of equality. May mutual understanding transcend all conflicts. Let bias and discrimination retreat. May peace and harmony forever prevail. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fred, you want to come on up? Dr. Fred Rhodes is the superintendent of Putnam City Schools, and the Putnam City School District is celebrating this year its 100th anniversary. And to denote that occasion, as school gets ready to start, we have a proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to read it.
Whereas Putnam City Public Schools celebrates its centennial in 2014, and whereas Putnam City was founded in 1914 when patrons of 4 one-room schools that were then west of Oklahoma City came together to improve the education of their children. Whereas Putnam City grew to be recognized as the largest consolidated school district in Oklahoma, reaching a student population of more than 19,000 by its centennial year, with 18 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, 3 high schools, and an alternative school. Whereas generations of Oklahoma City children have been educated in Putnam City schools, taught by dedicated and talented teachers who strive for excellence in learning, helping make Oklahoma City a great place to live and raise children. Whereas Putnam City has long been recognized as an academic leader with hundreds of National Merit Scholars, academic All-Staters, and other high achievers, as well as dozens of team and individual state athletic championships. Whereas graduates of Putnam City Schools have gone on to achieve success as government, business, and community leaders, athletes, physicians, scientists, clergy, entrepreneurs, entertainers, and luminaries in countless other fields and endeavors. Whereas Putnam City enters its 2nd century, continuing a tradition of enlightened leadership, patron and parental involvement in educational leadership, matched by few other school districts. Now, therefore, Mick Cornett, the mayor of the city of Oklahoma City, does hereby proclaim the 2014-2015 school year as Putnam City's centennial year in Oklahoma City.
Let's show our appreciation to superintendent and the Putnam City graduates throughout the years.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate your support and recognition of Putnam City Schools for our centennial. It was in 1914 that parents got together and decided that we needed a high school in the area of Putnam City Schools. As this proclamation indicates, there were several children that were not able to go to high school because there was no high school. There were some, actually, who were going to high school. In 1914, only 16% of the students in the nation were graduating from high school. But the interurban, which we all know, started in downtown Oklahoma City and went west. There was the Putnam City stop at State Street and 39th. And if you wanted to get a high school education, you got on the interurban and rode to downtown Oklahoma City every day. There were actually only 2 high schools in the state at that time, Oklahoma City and Tulsa. So Putnam City is the largest consolidated and very first consolidated high school in the state of Oklahoma, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Let's show our appreciation again, Dr. Rhodes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And should also note that both Councilman Greiner and I are graduates of Putnam City Schools, so we appreciate the faculty. And my mother is not a graduate, but she taught in the district for many, many years, and I got to meet Dr. Rhodes last October. My mother's grade school was holding its 50th anniversary, and they had her back as a two-time Teacher of the Year. So it was very special, and my mother is very mindful of the 100 years. I think she feels like she's lived them all.
Your Honor, I'd like to say a word or two, because my daughter was one of your mother's students a long, long time ago. Dr. Rhodes is too nice to talk about this, but I'll mention it, that Putnam City School District is engaging on one of the largest bond issues votes they've ever had in their history. It's $170 million, I believe that's correct, Dr. Rhodes? 120 million. 170 projects. They will essentially touch every school in the Putnam City School District with improvements and making it modern, easier to learn, better to learn. And I want to urge all of you to consider, the ones who are eligible anyway, and if you're not eligible, go ahead and vote anyway. As long as you vote positively, that's fine. Anyway, people who are considering this, look into it very carefully, and if the mood moves you, please vote for it, support it. It's a great project, and my wife and I have already voted by absentee ballot, and we were able to support Putnam City Schools again. We live just a few blocks from Putnam City North, so we can see their efforts in action all the time. So please consider it. It's a worthwhile project, and Dr. Rhodes, welcome here to Oklahoma City. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
We are on the council agenda on item 3. Why don't we have the official appointment of the Youth Council, and then we'll bring them up here for a little more ceremony. How about a motion on item 3A? Okay. Cast your votes. Item 3A passed unanimously. And as we do each year, this is a chance for the citizens of Oklahoma City to meet the young people who will be representing their specific wards on the Youth Council of Oklahoma City. Debbie, you want to lead them on up? Each ward has 2 students that represent them, and they will stand behind their respective council member. And throughout the school year, monthly, they will meet and learn more about city government and hear from our city staff about the offerings that the city of Oklahoma City has for them. All right. James, you want to introduce your 2 behind you?
First one is Kirsten Alfonso. She is a senior at Putnam City High School. She's an active member of Student Council, where she has served as a technology chair. She also is a student trainer for football and soccer. And within the community, she has been involved with the First United Methodist Church, the OKC Memorial Marathon Pancake Breakfast, and has consistently volunteered to read with students at Arbor Grove Elementary. I'm supposed to give her the pen now. Do you have any family members you want to introduce?
My mother and father, Laura and Gus Alfonso, right there.
And then the second one is Veronica Woods. She is also a senior, but at Western Heights High School. She's been an active member of the basketball team, playing all 4 years of high school. She's also a member of TNT, a youth group focused on keeping teens clean and sober by providing fun activities for them to do. She also volunteers at Club Soda by answering phones, making flyers, and cleaning or organizing activities. So you have your family.
I have my mom, Donna Woods, and my sister, Brandy Smith.
Congratulations. All right, I'm done.
All right. Larry?
Okay, from Ward 3, we're pleased to have 2 Youth Council representatives. First, I'd like to introduce Guillermo Escobar. Guillermo is a senior at Western Heights High School. He's described as a man of his word. He is involved in the Naval ROTC drill team, where he was named an outstanding cadet. He's president of the Key Club. He's active in the Windsor Hills Baptist Church, where he's been involved in the youth leadership. And he sees as the two greatest problems for youth are drugs and sex. So let's join in welcoming Guillermo Escobar. And Guillermo, would you like to introduce some folks here that are with you?
Yes, my mother, Diana Salazar.
And then it's my pleasure to introduce to you Tyler Thomas. Tyler is a junior at Mustang High School. We just went through a little exercise. Her mailing address is Yukon. She goes to Mustang High School, but she now is totally certain that she's a citizen of Oklahoma City, right, Tyler? She is described as being very driven and very dedicated. She's in the band where she has a leadership position. She was a page at the state capitol. Is Representative Pittman here today? No, okay. She was appointed by Representative Pittman. She's involved in DECA, where she does the monthly newsletter. And she sees depression and the number of teen parents as the greatest problems facing the youth right now. Tara, would you like to introduce some folks that are here?
My mother and father, Minyanda and Tyler Thomas, and my grandfather, Larry Neal.
This is unrehearsed, so bear with me for just a minute. We have two representatives from Ward 2. Ryan, how do you pronounce your last name, sir? Maidu, okay. Ryan Maidu, who is the class of 2016, a junior at Bishop McGinnis High School. He has a strong desire to be involved and to serve others. He is a member of the Bishop McGinnis class, as we said, of 2016. He just finished being the sophomore president. He's a youth group leader at Our Lady's Cathedral, where he volunteers several times a month. He's a member of the National Honor Society, and he received medals for outstanding service in theology. The top issues for Oklahoma City youth are budget issues facing education, poverty, and bullying. Would you like to introduce?
Hi, my mother and father, Mother Dung Du and Father So Mai.
Well, I was going to keep this a secret, but I guess the secret will have to be out. I know the next gentleman very, very well. I've known him for all the years of his life. He's my grandson, James Williams. James is going to be a senior at Harding Charter Pep. He's been a member of the debating team at Harding. He's the shortstop on the varsity baseball team. He's academically on the honor roll, and he's a youth leader involved at Bridgeway Baptist Church. Last summer, he completed a mission trip to Nairobi, Kenya. And so, James, would you like to introduce the family that's here?
Back there we have my mother and father, Matt and Lori Williams, and then also two of my grandparents, Ed Williams, Joanne McAtee, and a whole slew of brothers and sisters and cousins. So.
Well, one of my youth council members is not here today. His name is Seth Reed. I'm just going to read a little bit about him before I introduce Juan. Seth is a junior at Capitol Hill High School, team captain on the football team, plays basketball, golf, and track, volunteers for the Regional Food Bank, Read Across America, and the Lee Christmas Party. Has an outstanding resume, and I look forward to meeting him. He's not here today, but I look forward to meeting him and perhaps introducing him at another time at another council meeting. Juan is here. Juan Morales is here. He is a senior at Santa Fe South. He's vice president of the League of United Latin American Citizens, and serves as a volunteer in that capacity in many different activities. He also runs cross-country and was a member of the state championship 3A cross-country team last year in 2013. He's an active school leader where he helps plan and promote school events, sees drugs and alcohol abuse in gangs as a major issue facing Oklahoma City youth, and is described as being very democratic in his decision-making approach. I note that the word democratic is not capitalized there, and so, but it should be, probably, hopefully, from my standpoint at least. He's very democratic in his decision-making process and says that he's always eager to participate. I think he has a sibling here he wants to introduce.
My little brother, Abel Perez. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you.
Thank you.
We also have two youth counselors who represent the city at large. Rebecca Mahajiran is a senior at Westmore High School. She's known as being hardworking, responsible, intelligent, polite, and personable. She was vice president of her class in her freshman and sophomore years, president of her junior class. And as part of her responsibilities as president, she organized the prom and raised money for her junior class. She believes the top two issues are self-awareness and social media. And she is a key volunteer for the school and has raised money for families in need at Christmas time. Let's show our appreciation to Rebecca Mahajiran. There we go. And right here. I got a spare microphone hanging around up here, yeah.
Okay, my parents are here, Leanne and Joe Tumbleson, so.
Well, okay. And also representing the city at large is John Teague. He's at Mount St. Mary's High School, also in the class of 2015. He plays varsity baseball, participates in the long jump. He has been traveling with the St. Luke Youth Group to serve others in New York, St. Louis, and Chicago. His baseball coach says without hesitation it's his character that distinguishes him from others, and that he never compromises that. He believes that apathy in the workings of the government and politics and the quality of education in the public school system are amongst the serious issues facing Oklahoma City youth. He's received several awards, including Mount St. Mary's Student of the Month. Show your appreciation to John Teague.
And my mother, Helen, is here, my girlfriend, Kelly, and my brother, Luke, and my dad, David, and my grandmother from Arkansas, Kay.
Terrific. Meg, you're going to handle Ward 5?
I am. In Councilman Greenwell's absence, I'd like to introduce Jordan Darrow to you all today. Jordan is a junior at Mount St. Mary's High School. She has been described as thinking outside the box and as a great listener. She plays varsity soccer. She's a member of the National Honor Society, the Spanish National Honor Society, and was sophomore class representative on the student council. She serves on the Children's Miracle Network team board and as a student ambassador for Expeditions in Etiquette. That really sounds like fun. Jordan volunteers for Hannah's Promise each month, which gives parents of special needs children a night out and provides fun activities for the children. Jordan, I'd like to present you with this pin and ask you to introduce your family.
My mother and my two little sisters came with me, Laurel, Natalie, and Sophie.
Great, wave your hand so we can see where you are. Great, thanks for being here. I'd also like to take just a minute to introduce Tyler Dang. Tyler is not here with us today, but he will also represent Ward 5. Tyler is a member of the class of 2015 at Class and School of Advanced Studies. He's active in a wide array of organizations, including the Student Council, Key Club, debate team, co-captain, and captain of the varsity tennis team. He's also a varsity rower for the Chesapeake Junior Crew down on our beautiful Oklahoma River. Tyler led the class and SAS tennis team to third place finish at state, received first place in foreign extemporaneous, and has been recognized for receiving a perfect score of 36 on his ACT. I can't wait to meet him. His teacher says that he is a dedicated and extremely bright student, which sounds logical. So we'll look forward to meeting Tyler at the next meeting. And then I have the privilege of introducing Chase Neal to you all today. Chase is a member of the class of 2015 at U.S. Grant High School. At school, he's a member of the National Honor Society, the Technology Student Association, Sooner Upward Bound, Boys Golf, and he was a junior class officer. Chase said he learned about the Youth Council while watching Channel 20 on TV. I'm glad you did that. And he says he admires Mayor Cornett because he helped put Oklahoma City on the map. Chase is concerned about drug and alcohol abuse when it comes to his peers in Oklahoma City, and thinks that the youth lack understanding of the importance of getting a good education. So, Chase, welcome to Ward 6, and I'd like you to introduce your family, please.
I would like to introduce my mother and father, Billy Neal and Amy Neal, and my brother, Robert Neal. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, one of my Ward 6 youth council members could not be with us today, and I was looking around for a young man named Sam, and it turns out Sam is really Samantha. So I would like to tell you a little bit about Samantha Basave. She is a junior at Harding Fine Arts Academy. She tutors other students, translates for non-English speaking families at doctor appointments, and she mentors children with siblings with disabilities. She's a 4.0 student and a member of the National Honor Society. She believes that her peers struggle to find their individual worth and to keep their personal lives private in this world of social media. Samantha's teachers say that she's a driven, committed, kind, and wise beyond her years. She received the coveted Firehawk Award at Mount St. Mary's, and she's received superior ratings when she plays the violin. So we have a really talented group of young people representing both Ward 5 and Ward 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ward 7 is blessed to have two great students who are the youth councils representing Ward 7. The first gentleman is Carlos Hashaw. Carlos Hashaw is a student at Douglas High School. As a senior, he will begin his 4th year on the varsity football team this fall. He also plays basketball team for the 5th, did I get it right? Five state championship in basketball. Carlos enjoyed being involved in his community through volunteerism. In May of 2013, Carlos helped with the tornado disaster. Education, materialism, and poverty are the 3 issues that Carlos believes are a challenge for the youth of Oklahoma City. Carlos's teacher says that his personality is open and inviting, and that he is charming and hardworking. Carlos really wants to make a positive difference in people's lives in Oklahoma City. It is an honor and pleasure for me to introduce Carlos. Please tell us who are with you today.
I have my mother, Shakita Bowie, my 2 grandparents, Samuel and Charlita McKinley, my twin sister, actually, Shaquarja Hashaw, my little brother, Caleb.
All right, thank you. The next person we are blessed to have with us is, help me pronounce your last name. Tracer. She is a member of Oklahoma Christian School class of 2016 and is active involved in her school and community. She is a member of the National Honor Society, plays the flute in the OSC band, and was the historian public relations officer for the sophomore class. In addition, Kara has studied classical ballet at the Academy of Ballet and Theater since 2002. She is described as faithful and high motivated. Kara is also involved in student ministry at her church and spends Springs break volunteering for Champ Camp, a sports evangelistic camp for inner city children. Kara is concerned about the lack of positive role models and a sense of self-worth among her peers in Oklahoma City. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Kara Tracer. All right. Tell us who's with you today.
I would like to introduce my parents, Bob and Julie Traster.
Excellent.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce two people who didn't come to this morning. They probably had something more exciting to do than come to the city council meeting, but at any rate, they're both two young ladies. Both are seniors in high school this year. One goes to Deer Creek High School, and one goes to Putnam City North. So it's one almost my neighbor. At any rate, the first one, Sabrina Chaudhry, is a Deer Creek High School student. She's a senior this year and will graduate, and she's not quite sure what college she's going to go to yet. She is the president-elect of the Deer Creek High School Key Club and a representative for her class in student council. She serves as treasurer of the team board for Hope Center in Edmond. For the past 6 years, Sabrina has volunteered at Langston University to celebrate our Culture Day. Sabrina is concerned about the growing number of teen suicides here in Oklahoma City. She also believes that teen depression is a major problem among her peers. Sabrina is a member of the Deer Creek High School National Honor Society and has received the Deer Creek Academic Excellence Award for the past 2 years. And we're looking forward to having Sabrina with us this year. Courtney Duckett goes to Putnam City North High School. She's also a senior. She'll graduate this year. She's been involved in cheerleading, cross country, tennis, soccer, and the DECA, which is distributed education. Last year, she received first place in a DECA state competition in her division, which qualified her for a national competition. Courtney is also enrolled in Francis Tuttle Bioscience and Medicine Academy to help her focus on her future career in this field. In Courtney's opinion, childhood hunger, safe driving, and adequate college preparation are issues she feels are vital to Oklahoma City's youth. Courtney's teacher says Courtney is very detailed in her work. She has very defined goals of excellence for herself, and I believe she will attain them. So we look forward to having Courtney with us this year.
Great, thank you.
I have some applause for the two young ladies.
Why don't we have all the parents that are in attendance today to stand so we can show our appreciation and acknowledge y'all here. Thank you all. We're on item 4 of the council agenda. It's the Journal of Council Proceedings. Item 4A is to receive the journal for July 15th, and item 4B is to approve the journal of July 1st. Any comments or questions here? Second. All right, let's cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 5 is request for uncontested continuances.
Mr. Mayor, outside of item 8A5, which is listed on the agenda, there's a couple more on page 26. On page 26, under item 8L1, item H, 309 Southwest 148th Street. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has removed. And then moving on to item 8, I guess it's M1. Item A, 3033 North Grand. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has secured. Item B, 4709 Love Drive. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has secured. Item C, 109 Sonora. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has secured. And then item D, 1728 Northwest 21st Street. We ask that that be stricken. Again, the owner has secured.
Any other requests for uncontested continuances? All right, let's recess the council meeting, convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority. We have a motion and a second. There are 7 items on the MFA. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCMFA, convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority. 4 items here. Comments or questions on the PPA? All right, cast your votes. And it passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCPPA, convene as the Oklahoma City Environmental Assistance Trust. There are 2 items. Okay, comment here? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCEAT, reconvene the council meeting with the consent docket. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any individual considerations?
AW.
AW.
And AZ.
AZ.
And Mayor, I had a couple, 6S, 6T, and 6U.
Okay. John, you want to go ahead and get us started with AW?
Yeah. AW is just the renewing the contract with Jacobs Engineering about the streetcar. Just for sake of consistency, I'd like to vote on that separately. I still don't think we're at the point to where we can't completely get rid of the project, and at that point, I will start voting to finish the project. So that's all I had on that. I don't want to
Okay, AZ?
belabor that point. And then AZ is, I just wanted to highlight that it's an extension of the Safe Oklahoma grant to continue that grant that's in that 4.4 square miles down in where I live. So it's kind of extra important to me, but it's to extend an extra police presence down there for another year. And so the stories that I've been hearing from Major Becker and Sergeant Scala from the Hefner Division are that it's going in the right direction, that they're getting good results out of it, and so it's showing that it's having successes. So just wanted to highlight that resolution, that we're extending that another year.
Okay.
Thanks.
Meg, item S.
Mayor, thank you. And I probably can talk about S and T together. These are funding opportunities that the city's received from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, focused on social services, most of them homeless prevention, rapid rehousing services, and providing shelter to homeless persons in our community. And item 6S awards a series of grants, and I just think it's always important to recognize the agencies that we help support: the YWCA of Oklahoma City, Neighborhood Services Organization, Upward Transitions, a city rescue mission, both in the area of rehousing and prevention, a great organization called Be the Change that's doing a lot of work actually out on the streets, working with the most chronically homeless folks, Heartline, Community Health Centers, Legal Aid Services of Oklahoma City, and Sunbeam Family Services. And the total of those grants from HUD are $360,000, which is significant.
Yes, it is.
And item T is a similar situation. These are applications that were recommended through our Continuum of Care program that's funded under the Stewart B. McKinney Homeless Assistance Act. These funds also come from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the organizations represented here include the Community Enhancement Corp., Homeless Alliance, City Rescue Mission, Oklahoma City Metro Alliance, Hope Community Services, Red Rock Behavioral Health, City Care, Community Health Centers, and Neighborhood Services Organizations. And all of these groups do such amazing work in our community and help us work with those populations that really need assistance. And so I'm very grateful for all that they do. Item 6U is also fun, and Miller Neighborhood is a very active group, and I've worked with them, I guess, for 6 years, and they're really interested in pursuing a historic designation for the neighborhood. And in this application, we are authorizing the mayor to execute a certified local government National Register nomination. This is separate and distinct from the neighborhood becoming, having the zoning change to become a historic district, but it does recognize the historic character of this special neighborhood, and I think it very important, at least first step in making that transition. So I recommend that we authorize that nomination.
All right. Any other comments on the consent docket? All right. Why don't we make the motion then to include everything on the consent docket except AW, and then we can vote on that separately? Everybody good with that? All right, so we're voting here on the rest of the docket. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. And do we have a motion on AW? Absolutely. All right, cast your votes on AW, and it passes 6-1. We're on to the concurrence docket. All right, are there any individual considerations here? All right, cast your votes on the concurrence. It passed unanimously. We're on to item 8. These are items that require a separate vote. We begin with a series of zoning cases. The first is in Ward 1. It's an ABC issue at 6512 Northwest Expressway. James?
Yeah, thanks. This is obviously you just said it's on Northwest Expressway, so it's certainly compatible with surrounding properties. It's mainly commercial area. It's just for a restaurant that's located here. So it's unanimously approved by the Planning Commission, so I move for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Did anyone here show up today hoping to speak on item 8A1? All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A2 is an ABC issue in Ward 8. The address is 2001 Northwest 142nd Street. Pat?
Thank you, Your Honor. Has anybody signed up to speak against it? It was passed unanimously by the Planning Commission. There was no opposition there, no protest. It's an area where we already have some ABC uses there. It's a little restaurant. It's associated, it's very close anyway to Dick's Sporting Goods, new facility out there. Anyway, I will move approval.
All right, anyone here hoping to speak on item 8A2 today? All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A3 is a zoning case in Ward 7 at 131 Northeast 50th Street. It's currently R1 Single Family Residential, and if approved, it would become I2 Moderate Industrial. John?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see the applicant is present. Do we have any protesters? I want to first of all thank the applicant for working with his neighbors. That at the beginning, there were some concerns in the rezoning of this property, but the applicant worked everything out with the surrounding area, and so I just want to personally thank you for working with the surrounding area. I move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on item 8A3. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A4 is in Ward 3. The address is 12900 Northwest 10th Street. It's currently AA agricultural and C3 community commercial, and it would be a new C3 community commercial district if approved. Larry?
Thank you, Your Honor. Has anybody signed up on this? Is the applicant present? Okay. This is to rezone some area for a restaurant, a Chicken Express restaurant. Unless the council has any questions, I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Anyone hoping to speak on this item today? All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A5 has already been continued for 4 weeks. This is a zoning case at 13725 Southwestern Avenue. Again, item 8A5 continued for 4 weeks from today. Item 8A6 is a zoning case in Ward 1 at 10900 Northwest 23rd Street. It's currently a planned unit development district, and it would become a new R2 medium low density district if approved. James?
Yeah, this is another one where unanimous approval by the Planning Commission. It's compatible with everything that's planned around it is R1 or R2. The only thing I'd like to highlight on it is that this area, the 23rd Street, doesn't have high traffic right now, but it will after all of these developments are developed, and so 23rd Street definitely needs to be on our radar. I've talked to Eric about it before, but just every time something like this comes up, I always want to emphasize that 23rd Street's going to need some attention in the future, especially within the next 10 years. So, but with that, I move for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on item 8A6. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A7 is a zoning case in Ward 7 at 3201 Mosley Road. It's currently AA agricultural, R1 single family, I2 moderate industrial, and a planned unit development. It would become a new PUD if approved. John?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have anybody who have signed up? And I see the applicant is present. At the beginning, I was not in support of this zoning change because eventually we're going to have to stop kicking the can down the street when it comes to waste in our city. But my view changed once EPA took this particular landfill off the Superfund site. I had the opportunity to tour this particular landfill. And again, at the beginning, I had some strong reservations. But after touring the facility and EPA taking this particular landfill off of the Superfund toxic list, and one thing I must give Waste Management credit, they have come up with several different ways to make their landfill clean energy. So with that being said, I move for approval.
All right, did anyone here show up today to speak on item 8A7? All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A8 is a zoning case in Ward 8 at 1140 Northwest 164th Street. And if approved, it would become a new plan unit development.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe the applicant is here today. He is here. Are there any questions by the council on what's being proposed out here? It's a gated community. It's an area that is residential now, about 2 miles north of Quail Springs Mall. And so it's an area that is developing rapidly in new residential areas. There were no protesters at the city council. Did anybody sign up to speak on this one? I move approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on item 8A8. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 8A9 is a zoning case in Ward 1 at 13000 North Mustang Road. It's currently a plan unit development, and it would become a new PUD if approved. James?
Have the technical evaluations been agreed to? Yep, okay. Yeah, this is just one where one tract is R1, tract 2 is R2. There's already a lot of residential, so it's compatible as well. It's a unanimous approval by the Planning Commission. Anybody signed up for this one? Okay, so barring any questions, I move for approval.
Second.
All right, we're voting on item 8A9. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item 8A10 is a zoning case in Ward 4 at 4321 Southeast 59th Street. It's currently a simplified plan unit development and R1 single family, and it would become a new SPUD if approved.
I've reviewed the application, went by to look at the property. I believe it was approved unanimously by the Planning Commission, and all the technical evaluations have been met. Is that right? So unless there are protestants, I move approval.
All right, anyone here hoping to speak on item 8A10? Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8A11 is a zoning case in Ward 2 at 2101 Northwest 36th Street. It's currently R1 single family residential and C1 neighborhood commercial, and it would become a new simplified plan unit development. Is anyone here hoping to speak on this item today? All right. Has anyone signed up? No. All right.
I move approval.
We have a motion on item 8A11. Is there a second?
Second.
Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 8A12 is a zoning case in Ward 5 at 1324 Southwest 89th Street. It's currently O2 General Office, and it would become a new simplified plan unit development district if passed. Is anyone here hoping to speak on this item today? All right, how about a motion on item 8A12?
Move the item.
Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8B is to name an alley that extends between Northwest 8th and 9th Street, just off of Broadway, and Shane Jewell is here. Shane, you want to speak on this?
Thank you very much. My name is Shane Jewell. I'm the Executive Director of Oklahoma City Ballet. This proposal is to name a currently unnamed street Ballet Alley in Automobile Alley. We have unanimous approval of surrounding businesses as well as the Planning Commission, and we hope you consider this proposal as a growing symbol of the increased arts and culture in Oklahoma City. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Shane. Item.
Second.
All right. Comments or questions on item 8B? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item 8C is a part of the process of our continuing examination of our business improvement districts. This one has to do with Western Avenue, and today is a public hearing. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on item 8C? Looks like someone has signed up. Chris Paparonis? Oh, we did? Okay. All right, well, apparently he's left. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone else here hoping to speak under item 8C? Okay, this is the resolution that will confirm the assessment roll. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. And then item 8D is the ordinance on the assessment roll.
Second.
Okay, cast your votes. And it passed unanimously. Okay. Francis tells me we need the emergency on item 8D.
Second.
Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8E is an ordinance here for final hearing today, and this is some modifications to our retirement system. Okay, cast your votes on 8E. It passed unanimously. And item 8F is also an item that's here for the final time. It's on urban ag. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on this item today? All right, how about a motion then on item 8F? Cast your votes. It passes 6-1. Item 8G includes some modifications to our purchasing procedures. This is a public hearing today. Council had a presentation a couple of weeks ago. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on item 8G today? All right, how about a motion to move this forward? All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. And item 8H is also a public hearing. This has to do with some changes to our noise ordinance. And again, council had a presentation on this item 2 weeks ago. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on item 8H today? All right. Motion and a second. Cast your votes, and that item moves forward. On to item 8I, and this is an item that's being introduced today. And Bob Tiener is here.
I'd like to just give you some brief bullet points about this proposed ordinance. What we're proposing here is to change the fee for special event licensings for special event food trucks. Currently, the fee is $35, and then every time, they pay that as an annual fee, and every time they attend a special event, they have to pay a $29 special event fee, and they're inspected by City County Health. The proposed ordinance would raise that annual fee to $100, and then we would add two new fee structures. One would be the fee would be $150. That would be their annual fee, plus it would allow them 6 special events, meaning they wouldn't have to pay that $29 additional each time they attend an event. And the second fee would be $250, which would give them an annual license, plus it would give them unlimited special events. Excuse me.
Just a question, Bob. You mentioned that the actual inspection will be City County Health. Will the dollars we collect go to the City County Health Department?
Per contract, we split fees with City County Health 50-50. So looking at this proposed ordinance, it's basically revenue neutral for us. So, but it does, we met with the several of the food truck vendors, and they're for it because it gives them the ability to buy one license and then not have to go through that inspection at every special event. And so they're supportive of it. The one other change in this portion of the ordinance, we're going to require the special event operator to provide the City County Health with a list of vendors with 10 days prior to the event. So the City County Health will know how to, how many inspectors they need to send to the event.
And the vendors are in support of this particular 10-day notification?
The vendors, yes, the ones we've met with are supportive of it. And we've been trying through the city service meeting with special event coordinators to get them to turn in their vendors, a list of their vendors 10 days prior, so City County Health can adjust to the events. And it's working that way, but now we don't have that in the ordinance, and we're proposing to add that here. And so that's really the primary change about the food truck piece. And then the second part is...
And they still can do the one-time
right.
purchase too, right?
They can,
this is an extra option that they have.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
And that fee goes from $29 to $30. So if you're a vendor that you don't want to attend several events, you can come in and get one. So that's still an option for them.
This is really the city responding to a changing industry. 2 years ago, we had an occasional food truck downtown Oklahoma City, and it's really become a proliferation of them all over. And so this is an attempt to respond to that. Bob and others have worked with DOKC and a number of the food truck vendors and other stakeholders in this area to make sure that we've got a consensus. We work with City County Health to make sure that we are able to respond. And just like you'll see in the item, two items down, we're talking about taxi cabs and sundries. It's a new industry, and we're trying to respond to that professionally and still have a level of public basic safety concerns, health concerns to protect the public as we go forward. And I think it's a little bit new on both those ordinances. This is a little bit of new territory for us.
Jim, those were the exact notes that I made on my agenda. I want to thank Bob for working with all these groups. I actually think the city was approached by some of the food truck vendors to see if we could come up with an opportunity to provide a 6-month or multiple licenses and then an unlimited one. And as we're evolving and we're creating more permanent food truck parks and things, it's a great way to respond. And I really appreciate your being so collaborative, including folks in the conversation. And easier to get it right up front than it is to have to go back and change it later. So
I appreciate that.
Thanks very much.
And we'll track each time they go to an event, we'll track that. So if you have a six event license, and we'll let City County Health know that they need to buy if they do their 7th. So, and we'll just work with it and see how it evolves. But we feel pretty good about it. City County Health is supportive of it because of their the increased trouble that they've had with getting inspectors out. But they'll continue to do inspections and keep the public safe. And then the second part is proposal to we're creating a food sales vehicle court. Basically, it's a license for someone to operate on private property, a food truck court. We have one proposed that's pending at 10th and Harvey right now, and it's already been through the permit process. So this ordinance, the second part of this ordinance, creates a fee and a license, a $100 fee. It establishes application requirements that they have to meet. Then it sets up about 8 operational things that we feel were important from looking at other ordinances. And some of those examples of those, they have to have a solid waste management plan, what they're going to do with their trash after events. They're going to have to provide restroom facilities within a certain distance of the trucks. They'll be responsible to make sure all the trucks have licenses. So we've met with the individual that's doing the truck court, and he's comfortable with all the recommendations that we made, and staff looked at several different ones across the country, and we tried to reflect those. So that's really, if anybody has any questions, that's.
Okay, well, items being introduced today will have a public hearing on August 12th, and then it's scheduled for final adoption on August 26th. Any other questions today? How about a motion then just to move it forward? Cast your votes, and it moves on through the system. And item 8J is another ordinance going to be introduced today, and Doug Cupper is here.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council. In the endeavor of continuing to expand our partnerships and the flexibility of using the river and working with the river redevelopment folks, we did a comprehensive review of the ordinances that govern how we use the river and how our partners use the river. It was actually precipitated by our partners out at Crystal Lake. They want to be able to start offering opportunities, the Boy Scouts of America and the Girl Scouts of America, to be able to camp at their location as part of their ongoing activities with the youth. We discovered in our review that that is one of the prohibited activities according to the Ordinance 38, Article 10. So we're recommending that some processes be improved so that we can allow those type of activities to go forward as we develop these partnerships. We also discovered that there are activities already existing on the river that may not have met the ordinance as a whole. Some of the developments in the river sports area, we wanted to make sure that those were covered and that they are all legal and fit their purposes. We want to make sure that everything is consistent, that all the processes that we use are set, and we know that the river corridor, the River Redevelopment Commission has the authority to make some recommendations and authorize some permitting of activities. We also wanted to give the flexibility to you as the City Council to be able to authorize special permits for activities along the river. Water skiing is a prohibited activity. we want to make sure that we can allow those type of activities and these changes that we're recommending to you all today. So it's our recommendation that you adopt on the final reading in a few weeks these changes to the ordinance.
All right, item being introduced today, this is item 8J. Any comments from council today? All right, we're scheduling a public hearing on August 12th, and then it's scheduled for final adoption on August 26th.
Thank you.
Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Thanks, Doug. And item 8K is a very extensive ordinance that has to do with vehicles for hire and the way we deal with our taxi cab issues. I have a conflict with this. My son is involved with one of these companies, so Pat's going to come up and conduct this part of the council meeting.
And MT Berry has been working on this for about
9 months.
9 months, 6 months, 9 months. And again, this is another attempt for us to respond to changes in society and technology. And this has gone to the Traffic Commission. It went last week, and it was approved unanimously at the Traffic Commission.
Yes.
Chief Berry, if you'd cover this.
Okay, MT Berry, City Manager's Office. I'm happy to introduce to Council and Mayor today the recommended amendments to our vehicle for hire ordinances that were designed to take into account the business model of companies like Uber and Lyft and any other company that might utilize a digital platform and citizens using their personal vehicles to provide transportation for hire in Oklahoma City. As the city manager said, this document is a culmination of approximately 9 months' worth of work in which staff from the municipal counselor's office, the police department, and the city manager's office researched the business models of Uber and Lyft, conducted several meetings with members of the local taxi cab and limousine industry, and several meetings and telephone conversations with Uber, in order to come up with what you have before you today. Now, Lyft entered the city in April of this year, and we were able to contact them and provide them with a copy of our draft regulations for review and comment in June. Based on the feedback from all of these groups, we finalized our recommended amendments to Chapter 56, which is what you have before you today. Now, I must say that despite our best efforts, the taxi and limousine industry, nor Uber and Lyft, are totally happy with what is before you today. In its current state, Chapter 56 consists of an Article 1, motor vehicles for hire, and Article 2, carriages, which would include pedicabs, the pedicabs that you see in the Bricktown area. We are proposing the creation of a Article 3, which is entitled Transportation Network Vehicles and Transportation Network Companies. We will refer to them as TNVs and TNCs. In Articles 1 and 2, you will notice that there were some changes made. However, we tried to limit those changes to things that were necessary for either legal reasons or things that would incorporate current practices into the ordinances. And we tried to make these things also things that we tried to make consistent between the taxi and limo industry and the TNV and TNC industry as proposed. Article 3 is all new language, and Article 3 is where you will find the proposed regulations for the transportation network vehicles and transportation network companies. The requirements found in Article 3 address the major public safety and consumer protection concerns that exist when providing vehicle for hire services and are similar to the requirements that exist for taxi cabs, limos, and pedicabs. TNCs, or transportation network companies, must obtain a license from the city in order to legally operate. They must provide proof of insurance coverage for all of the vehicles that will operate for them. Regarding the insurance coverage that we're asking for, we were able to obtain a copy of Uber's insurance. Insurance for transportation network companies is somewhat controversial across the country, but we did obtain a copy of their insurance policy. Because it is of a proprietary nature, we could not share that outside of our legal team. So our legal staff are the only ones that have been able to look at that. But they did sit down and visit with the city's insurance expert about the insurance that is being provided by Uber. And we can say, based on the review by the city's insurance expert, that that insurance meets our requirements. Okay? The transportation network companies will be required to provide 2 levels of insurance coverage. Number one, when the drivers are logged into the company's digital platform, and that is when they're logged into their cell phones awaiting a call, then they will have a level of insurance that is required at that point. When they are en route to a call and when they are transporting a passenger, then there's another level of insurance coverage that they have to maintain. And again, their policies do cover these requirements. Transportation network company drivers or transportation network vehicle drivers must obtain a permit from the city in order to operate, and their vehicles must be inspected by the city to ensure proper operation of safety devices, cleanliness, appearance, and based on the age and mileage of the vehicle, proper mechanical operation. In order for the driver to receive a permit, they must undergo a background check for criminal and traffic violations. They must also provide us with a statement from a physician stating that they are physically capable of safely performing vehicle for hire services. When available to accept passengers, TNV drivers must display what we call trade dress on their vehicles. For a Lyft, if you've seen any of the Lyft vehicles in Oklahoma City, they have the pink mustache on the front of the vehicle when they're out transporting passengers. Uber has a similar trade dress. It's a iridescent U, I believe, that they attach to the window of the vehicle when they're in service. It will be unlawful for any TNV or a transportation network vehicle driver to refuse service to any person who requests service in an orderly manner and for a lawful purpose. They must accept passengers who have physical disabilities, and if they cannot accommodate those passengers, they must assist the passenger in arranging for other transportation. Those would be the major requirements that we have set forth within the proposed amendments that are before you today. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions of Chief Berry? I want to take a moment and remind the people in the hall here what our process is. It's a 3-step process. Today, the resolution will be introduced, and on August 26th, we'll have a public hearing, and then on September 9th, we'll have a final vote. So if anybody's come here wanting to speak on this issue, you're a little early, but if you've come here and made the effort, why, we'll be glad to hear what you have to say, if you'll keep your remarks to a minimum.
Chief, I do have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to their inability to refuse a ride, I know that applies to taxi and limousines.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the interesting things about both of these platforms is the real-time feedback that people get and can provide. And so passengers provide that information with regard to their driver and the cleanliness of the vehicle. And the driver provides that information about their passengers.
To the companies.
To the companies.
Yes.
So I can visualize a circumstance or envision a circumstance where a passenger that was unpleasant or unruly might have bad feedback and they might not want to pick that person up. Is that covered clearly? Could they refuse that ride based on feedback?
If the passenger is disorderly, if the passenger is intoxicated or disorderly, or is in a state that the driver believes that it would be harmful for them, then certainly they could refuse at that point, and that is built into the ordinance.
So what about if the person has been in the past and you know, had negative feedback? They might not be disorderly currently, but they might have been in the past and would have a negative feedback profile. Have we?
Well, again, the negative feedback we would have to depend on the companies to share that information with us if it was only reported to the companies. If they reported it to us, then we would still say that as long as the passenger is ruly at that time, then they would be eligible for transport.
Meg, did I answer your question? I did answer it. It's a little complicated. Larry?
I have a procedure question for Mr. Couchton, Jim. What MT said was that the taxi and limousine folks did not agree with necessarily everything that's in this proposed ordinance.
Yes, sir, that's
Nor
correct.
does the telecommunications company, whatever they're called, the
Transportation network companies.
transportation network companies, they don't agree with everything. Their platform for voicing their, quote, disagreements, unquote, is at the next meeting, not today. Is that,
You can, I mean, we do receive comments at all public meetings, so they can come today and place those, but the actual public hearing is in 4 weeks.
so the actual time for them really to concentrate their questioning of us is in 2 weeks from today?
That would be correct.
And are they aware, are both of those
4 weeks.
entities aware?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, 4 weeks from today. Are they aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Are there any other questions of Chief Berry? We have a motion and a second, I believe, to move the ordinance forward. And it'll be set for a public hearing then on August 26th.
Thank you.
Please cast your votes. And the ordinance is moved forward. Does anybody come here this morning hoping to speak on item 8K? Did anybody sign up?
No, sir.
So we have nobody here, which is the way we should be doing this thing, because next meeting, September 26th meeting rather. August 26th. I'm sorry. August 26th. I got new glasses. I can't see. Anyway, that's when we'll actually have the public hearing on this project, and we will entertain anybody who wants to speak at that point in time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. My term expired.
We're on item 8L now, the council agenda. This is a public hearing regarding dilapidated structures. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on any item listed under 8L? All right. Oh, you think you want to? Yeah, come on up. We'll need your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Glenn King. My address is 416 Northwest 29th and Walker. The dilapidated structure that I'm speaking on today is 1151 Northeast 23rd. It was the...
Okay, hold on, Glenn. Is it on the next list?
No. He needs to speak under citizens.
Well, it's not on the list for today. Is this how did you become aware of this?
I appeared before you on April the 27th at a city council meeting concerning my that caught fire on March 27th.
Okay, would it be more appropriate then if it came back under citizens to be heard? Is that your preference? Okay. If you'll just have a seat, we'll get to you shortly.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
All right, we're voting then on item 8L. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8M is a public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on any item listed under 8M? All right, cast your votes on 8M. It passed unanimously. Item 8N is to receive the EMSA budget for the fiscal year 2014-15. We have representatives from EMSA in the audience today. If there are any comments or questions from council, they'd want to direct them individually or just move it forward. Okay? All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Thanks for coming down.
Next item is EMS related also.
It is. This is just our agreement between the city and EMSA?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cast your votes here. Do we have a motion on it? All right, cast your votes on 8-0. It passed unanimously. All right, item 8P is a resolution up today, and Shad Meldrum is going to explain it.
This has to do with our personally identifiable information policy.
Good morning, Shad Mildren with the IT department. This proposed policy is really formalizing something that was already in our internal acceptable use policy that all the users have known about for years. It's probably been a decade we've had the acceptable use policy, and then also last year with the new personnel policies that specifically address confidential information. But with grant applications going on in various departments, this is required for the city to have an actual formal personally identifiable information policy. And again, with state law, it's required for us to have this policy also. What is it? Of course, the city is collecting information for business with our utility billing systems, within our PeopleSoft system, so we have this information and we're required to protect it. So what is it? It's personal information, dates of birth, first name, last name, social security numbers, state ID, driver's license numbers, military ID numbers, credit card information, medical information, bank and credit card information, and juvenile information. So this policy addresses how we store it, how we secure it, what happens if there is a breach of security, how we respond to it, how citizens would actually come in and investigate that information, make changes if they need to.
All right, any comments or questions for Shad? How about a motion then? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Thanks. And item 8Q is a resolution today that would help us with a planning study in northeast Oklahoma City, and I think Ian's here. Ian's not here. Oh, there he is down there. Okay.
Good morning. I'm here to do a quick presentation that summarizes the blight study that the planning department did for the Northeast Renaissance urban renewal area as a prelude to the consideration for creating an urban renewal plan for that area. So the Northeast Renaissance study area, which I'll show you a map in a second, generally covers the area of Northeast 23rd Street, Martin Luther King, Kelly Avenue, 36th Street. And as you know, the state covers a lot of different areas in terms of considerations of blight. This is the state statute that you're looking on. And for this blight study, we examined basically 4 core areas for the consideration of blight for this area. They were dilapidation, deterioration, age or obsolescence, arrested economic development, unsanitary or unsafe conditions, and deterioration of site or other improvements. To do the blight study, we created a study area that was then used to pull down data from census tract, from the U.S. Census and other data sources. And we took the major corridors that I discussed. So we see Northeast 23rd, between the state capitol and the river, MLK going north, Kelly, both the 36th Street, and we drew basically a half-mile boundary around that, those key corridors. And where that study area touched census tract and census tract blocks, that's where we took the majority of our data from. And these are the corridors in mention. Okay, next. And these are the census tract blocks that we use to pull down data. So, arrested economic development. The first indicator we looked at was population growth or decline, and we found that the study area that encompasses the proposed urban renewal area has in fact declined in population. Between 1990 and 2000, it declined by 11%, and 2000 to 2010, another 5%. That is in comparison to the city of Oklahoma City, which grew considerably during that same time period, 14%, 1990 to 2000, and almost 15% the next decade. In total, about 2,500 people left the study area during those 2 decades. Another issue with demographics is the decline of owner-occupied housing. So in 1990, the study area actually had one of the highest percentages of owner-occupied housing in the city, higher than the city itself at 59%. Over the 20 years between 1990 and 2010, that percentage of owner-occupied housing declined from 66% to 50%, while the city increased by a couple percentage points. So that shows people leaving, people decline in investment, and so forth. Housing vacancy has always been consistently higher than the rest of the city. Averages about 20%, the difference between housing units and households in the study area. The city, within each representative census year, is about 16, 10, and 12%, so the study area has consistently been about 5 to 9% percentage points higher than the city at any given point in the last 20 years. Additionally, in the vacant and abandoned building study that was done a couple of years ago, the data taken from that study found 139 vacant and abandoned buildings per square mile in the study area, as opposed to only 19 vacant and abandoned buildings throughout the city of Oklahoma City. Total estimated acreage of vacant land increased from about 28% to 30%, so roughly about a third of all the land within the study area is vacant or has no improvement upon it. Decline in taxable market value has been stark. Between 2005 and 2010, the city increased about 40% in taxable market value, and the study area actually grew by 26%, so it was growth, though not as much as the city. But between 2010 and 2013, the city grew about 9%, whereas the study area declined by a full 17%. The study area encompasses several areas of designated distress by state and federal governments. The first is the Oklahoma City Empowerment Zone and the Oklahoma County Enterprise Community Zone. Enterprise Zone is in the blue dark color, and the Empowerment Zone is the hatched yellow color. Those are areas designated by the state and the federal government in terms of distress to receive special funding for economic development. Additionally, the census tracts within the study area mostly qualify as highly distressed, and this is used by both funding programs like New Markets tax credits or low-income housing tax credits to determine whether the areas are eligible for those funding mechanisms. So, for example, a highly distressed census tract must have a poverty rate greater than 30%, median family income 60% less than the area income, and an unemployment rate at least 1.5 times the national average. As you can see, almost the entire study area is considered highly distressed, and in fact, most of the study area meets all three of those categories with highly distressed criteria. The study area also has a very high unemployment, so each vertical bar represents a census tract within the study area, and its unemployment rate to the left. The average study area unemployment was 11.6% in 2012 based on the American Community Survey. That is compared against the estimated City of Oklahoma City unemployment rate of 6.6% for the same data source. Some tracts in the study area are actually lower than Oklahoma City and the average, but some are a lot higher, even close to 20% that show unemployment. So moving on to dilapidation and deterioration. Between 2010 and 2014, 82 demolition permits were issued, representing 41% of all permits within the study area. So just under half of all permits, which include construction, remodeling, et cetera, were actually demolition permits. That's only 5% rate for the rest of the city. So most of the construction activity is actually the reverse. It's demolition within the area. The study area has an average pavement condition index of 47.8%. That's compared to the average city PCI of 62%. But in looking in more detail, as much as 30% of all the streets in the study area have a PCI of under 20, and that's on a scale of 0 to 100. The study area also has a significant amount of crime. So in these 18 categories that were tracked by the city police department, only 2 were not rated per capita higher than the city. So everything from homicide to auto theft, family offenses, rated higher per capita per 1,000 residences in the study area than did in the city. Only larceny and prostitution were lower. And in fact, homicide, weapons, and narcotics rated considerably higher than the rest of the city, 65, 60, and 67% higher than the per capita rate for the city. There's also a high concentration of brownfield properties being either environmentally contaminated properties or properties that are perceived to have contamination. Based on our brownfield inventories, we found a significant amount of potential brownfield properties that include potential oil field wells, old gas stations, dry cleaners, all the things you typically look for that are not necessarily known to be contaminated but are perceived to be contaminated. And so go back one second. I should add on the eastern portion of the study area a lot of auto salvage yards that are predominant east of 35. And finally, widespread dumping and boarded structures. So these are just an example of field photos taken by planning staff that looked at existing conditions throughout the study area, and we found a lot of abandoned boarded structures, trash dumping, poor conditions in general. So in summary, in looking at the 4 conditions of blight that we looked at, this is how those 11 criteria match against that. The full blight study has a few more criteria that we looked at. These were the kind of the most important to summarize. And you can see how most of the boxes are checked, so to speak, in terms of meeting those considerations for blight.
All right, questions for Ian? What's the next step in this process?
Go ahead. Please.
No.
Well, the next step is consideration for the Urban Renewal Agency to move forward with its urban renewal plan for the area, which it is working on preparing.
Okay. How about a motion then to accept item Q?
Second.
All right, cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Ian, thanks for your work. Item R, S, T, U, V. I understand we do not need executive session. So unless council has a specific interest, why don't we just roll through these with some motions and we'll move them on. Okay, we're voting on item R. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. How about item 8S? Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8T. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8U. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. Item 8V, we do not need to do anything. So how about a motion to strike? Is there a second? All right. So item 8V is struck. Item 8W, I understand we do need executive session.
Yes.
All right. How about a motion to move item 8W into executive session? Okay. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item 8X, I understand we do need executive session.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Cast your votes. That item moves to executive session. Item 8Y, we do need executive session.
Yes.
Okay. Second, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And item 8Z, we do need executive session.
Yes.
Okay, motion there. Cast your votes. And that item moves to executive session. Now, item double A is claims recommended for denial. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on any item listed under double A? All right, how about a motion then to move the claims forward? Cast your votes. Those claims are denied. Item 9A is claims recommended for approval. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on any item listed under 9A? All right, how about a motion on 9? Is there a second? Okay, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. And item 10 is items from council. Pat, you have anything for us today?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I would like to thank the planning department and their work as it relates to the blighted study, as well as Kathy O'Connor with the Alliance and Michael Owens with the Alliance.
Meg? All right, Pete? Larry?
Your Honor, late last week, John Pettis and I had the opportunity to visit St. Paul as part of the National League of Cities, and a couple of observations from there that to pass along, and Jim, I'd like some more information on in the future. One of them, they had their meeting in the River Center, which is their convention center, and if I could get some data on that particular center, how it's doing, and the like, I'd appreciate it so I can kind of filter that into our discussions that we're going to have here. We stayed in a renovated hotel, restored old hotel, similar to the Skirvin, but not quite as opulent, I would say, as the Skirvin, but very nice, and did not see any convention hotel being built or built with the convention center. I don't think that the St. Paul that we stayed at was a convention hotel, but if it is, I'd like to know that. And then we also had an opportunity to observe some of their public transit system. John and I did ride the bus that they offer from downtown out to the airport. It was a very good experience. As a senior citizen, I was able to ride out there for 75 cents, whereas a taxi ride split between John and I would have been close to $20 a piece. So there was some savings there. And then we also had an opportunity to take a look at their downtown trolley, their modern streetcar. And I was struck by the fact that the streetcar itself, the car itself was extremely, I thought, well done and very positive in its appearance. And looking at the tracking and looking at the powering, I noticed that it was powered by electric wires overhead. But the beauty, quite frankly, or the sleekness of the car itself very quickly took one's attention away from how it was powered, and the wires were to me personally, of no consequence at all. So that was an observation that I personally made. And then I also learned some things of some economic incentives that I passed along to Brent Bryan. I don't know whether we can do them in Oklahoma, but the Cabela's that Wichita, Kansas incentivized to come in had a very interesting incentive package, if I understood it correctly. What they did was Cabela's agreed to make their store a taxing zone unto itself and to impose an additional 2% sales tax on all purchases at the Cabela's that went back to Cabela's as their incentive package. So if I, as a taxpayer, never shopped at a Cabela's in Wichita, I would have no stake in the game at all. And I thought that was a very creative way. And if Brent is looking to see if that legally is possible in Oklahoma, it may not be, but I thought that was kind of an interesting incentive package the way they did it. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, James? All right.
And also to add on, Mr. Mayor, the Wichita Council folks said they wanted their parks director back. And Larry and I said, no way.
I was in a meeting with the city manager from Wichita last weekend, and he told me the same thing.
All right, city manager reports.
First up, we have a presentation on the city council priority briefing. And I think Eric's going to kick that off. We're talking about transportation systems that work for all citizens and support high-quality education, community health, and wellness.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We've got a presentation this morning that's going to be covered by a number of your directors, and as the city manager mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and kick off. But as we look at the information that you have today, talking about developing a transportation system that works for all citizens, we're going to speak first to some of our roads, our road conditions, our citizen surveys. And so as we go to the next slide, I think one of the things as we look at our priority indicators for Oklahoma City, you know, it's something that I think that we're all very familiar with, but something that we just remind our citizens, you know, we're a very large city at 620 square miles. We're still a population that's growing. We have now over 600,000 residents. But with that, it also comes with 8,000 lane miles of road and 750 signalized intersections. And so as we look at these priority indicators, we look at the number of citizens satisfied with the condition of city streets, the number of trails and sidewalks constructed, and then commute time. These are three items that we actually track very closely that relate to those infrastructure needs. When we look at the actual surveys and look at the citizens satisfied with the condition of city streets, you'll recall just a few weeks ago you received a citizen survey from results from last year. We actually look at some additional information that's inside that citizen survey. There's two additional questions that are asked. What is how do you feel the condition of arterial streets, and how do you feel about the condition of residential streets? And we actually average those, and we've been tracking that for a number of years. You're going to see that, unfortunately, we're seeing a slight decline in the citizen satisfaction when you look at those two ratings. You'll see in 13 it was 38%, 14, 35, and we held that same average percentage here at 35% in 2015. Our LFR goal for this is actually 50%. We're still setting our targets high, and I think one of the things that you'll see in some of the upcoming slides is we're putting a lot of effort into the reconstruction of Oklahoma City streets. There were a number of years that we actually got behind, and we're doing a lot of catch-up at the moment. But with the 2007 bond issue, with our focus on street reconstruction and street resurfacing, you know, we do still believe that this number is going to climb at some point. I think some of the factors that we would kind of attribute to some of the numbers is just the inconvenience due to construction. And I think the consultant also mentioned that the possibility that the expectation is now starting to increase from our citizens, that may also have some of the bearing that's on this number. But again, our bond program and of course the general fund resurfacing that Oklahoma City Council has supported over the last 3 years with the infusion of additional $24 million into our street program is something that we're working on very, very closely. When we look at the actual outcomes of what that construction looks like, I think most of you will recall the PCI, the Pavement Control Index number, is actually a scientific measure of the quality of a street. We too have been tracking this for a number of years, and you'll see in 2012, the average PCI of an Oklahoma City street was 61. You'll see now in 2014, it's risen to a 64. So I think that this starts to show the results of some of those construction activities where we're actually seeing that average climb. Again, at 8,000 lane miles of streets, we've got a ways to go, but we'd like to see this number into the 70s. We look at this next slide, this is the number of lane miles, and so when we look at 2012, there are about 33 lane miles of streets that were improved in 12. In fiscal year 13, you'll see that number dramatically increase by almost twice, 78. But you'll see this last year, we're up to 123 lane miles that are improved. And again, that continues to show that focus on city streets with citizens and their number one priority being the condition of city streets. That's where we're going to put our attention. Trails and sidewalks is also a significant factor. Obviously, something is a part of the transportation system, not necessarily for the vehicle, but for the pedestrian. These marks that you see on the slide, I apologize that the bars aren't showing up, but you'll see again that we're continuing to increase the number of constructed trails and sidewalks. That in 2012 it was 12, but you'll see now in 2014 we're up to 46. Of course, these are funded from a number of funding sources. The MAPS 3 program obviously is where we see a lot of the construction on the streets today, but not to be forgotten, the 2007 bond issue, virtually every street that's widened, every street that's resurfaced includes at least sidewalk on one side of the street. So we expect that in the completion of the 2007 bond issue that a net addition of about 275 miles of sidewalk will be completed over the life of that entire program. There's also been additional general fund dollars that are contributing to this as well, to the amount of $4 million. Those are being implemented as well. So we're continuing to increase not just streets, but sidewalks and trails. And then as we move into some of the last slides, obviously as we look at efficiency of the transportation system, when we look at the average commute and travel times in Oklahoma City, the data that is on this slide actually comes from the American Census Bureau. It actually is for the entire metro, so it's not specific just to Oklahoma City, but we do use it as our measure. And I think what you'll see by looking at the results over the last 5 years is that we're actually holding steady. Maybe there's a small increase, but generally we're holding that. But obviously with the growth of Oklahoma City, with the ITS, the Intelligent Traffic Control Systems that are being put in place by the 2007 bond issue, we believe these are good results. The commute times in Oklahoma City Metro are actually very good. And so we look at some of the past figures, and I use one of the examples from our ITS program. There was a study done on Classen from Northwest 4th to Northwest Expressway, and one of the goals of that program was to reduce the commute time by 5%. What does 5% look like? Well, 5% is about a 70-hour year savings for a commuter on that corridor, and it also had an estimated savings of about $280 a year in fuel costs. Obviously, the less time a vehicle is idling at a stop, better for air quality, also better on expenses. We actually achieved, after implementation of the ITS, a 6% savings, and so that equated to about a 1.5 minute savings in one-way time on Classen Boulevard by just aligning those lights and putting those systems in place. So 83 hours a year saved and an estimated $332. So we actually exceeded that original goal. But with that, that'll conclude my comments at least on roads, sidewalks, and trails. I think next up we've got the Transit Director, Jason. I'm sorry.
What is the average travel time? That's just, is that based on people's actual traveling to work? Or is that, because if you take that into account, then you have to take into account the fact that people are living further and further away from work. Is that, you get what my question is?
I think that I do. I wish that I could give you more details about the data specific to this slide, but because it came from the Census Bureau, we could look into that and find out. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe.
Yeah, this is from the Census Bureau's American Community Survey, where they survey people throughout the country. They ask them about what is your commute time, and they get a representative sample from each metro area, and that's the data that they're using. So it's people self-reporting how long it takes them to get to work each day.
Okay. That helps. And can you go back to the one that talks about the lane miles that are under construction, that slide that's under?
One more.
Yeah, one more, I think. Yeah.
There.
Is there any carryover? Because, you know, some of these streets are in different fiscal years, or is it like the 33 is just 33 that was started in 2012? Is that kind of how we're doing this, or?
I believe this is on completed projects, so this would be work as completed. So
it's been completed.
So it wouldn't necessarily include carryover, it would be completed work.
So there were 33 lane miles completed in fiscal year 2012?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
And again, I think the emphasis is that we continue to increase the number of projects. Obviously, it's evident by the number of work zones in Oklahoma City, but our goal is also make that as efficient as possible, try to get the work completed as quickly as we can, and move to the next project.
Eric, did any of your studies separate arterial streets from residential streets?
The citizen survey did, but from the data that you have today, no, I didn't.
All right, any other comments or questions from Eric? Okay.
That's just one component of transportation. Another component of transportation has to do with our actual bus systems.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Anyway, I'm certainly pleased to be able to share some ridership data with you this morning to demonstrate how the Public Transportation and Parking Department is working to support the council priority to provide a transportation system that works for all citizens. And so also have a little bit of data at the end of the slide that I'll share with you regarding a couple of partnerships that we're working on to promote education within Oklahoma City as well. So we can go ahead and get started looking at ridership. And essentially what we have here on this slide is our ridership in terms of riders per service hour. This is typically how we will measure ridership. That's on a service hour basis. And the reason for that is it offers generally a good comparison from year to year within our own agency, and it also helps us compare ridership to other agencies when you look at it on a per hour service basis. Now it's particularly helpful whenever you have a consistent number of service hours. Fortunately, in Oklahoma City, we've been able to add service hours over the last 2 to 3 years, which has translated into more frequency and better service for our riders, but at the same time has kind of kept the pressure on keeping that ridership per service hours down because we have more hours in our system. Nonetheless, if you look at the last 3 years, and I'm looking at the blue line graph on your slide, if you look at our ridership over the last 3 years in terms of riders per hour, you can see we've hovered right around that 18 per hour number. In FY 11-12, we finished the year at 18.41. In FY 13-14, the most recent fiscal year, we finished at about 17.81. So we're right around that 18 riders per hour number. Now, the other way that we've looked at ridership is cumulative in terms of total passenger trips that have been provided through the system Monday through Friday during the given year. And on the cumulative ridership, that's the red bars that you see on your graph, you can see that we've actually seen an uptick in cumulative ridership, finishing FY 13-14 at about 2.83 million passenger trips on our fixed route service Monday through Friday. And I have some slides that will help give you a better idea too of how that looks on a daily basis as well. The next slide we're going to look at here is really taking that same riders per service hour, looking at the last fiscal year and seeing how did we actually do on a month-to-month basis. You'll notice on the chart that you have on your slide, the blue line represents our target. We have a target of trying to achieve 19 riders per service hour on an annual basis. Now, annually, we've yet to been able to achieve that. That's still a stretch goal for us. But if you look at our ridership over the last year on a month-to-month basis, you can see we had a couple of months, August and September, where we actually exceeded our goal. And then not surprisingly, once fall and winter, cool weather gets here, you see that dip in ridership. That's typical. We usually see lower ridership in the winter months. And then you can see as the spring and better weather arrives, ridership actually continues to to rise as well. The one thing I will point out on this slide, you'll notice May and June, we were kind of working our way back up almost to target in April, and then May and June, you see that decline. That's actually when we implemented our service enhancements, adding additional frequency to the system. So all of a sudden, right there in May, our service hours increased by about 7%. So that's that downward pressure that adding service hours creates in a riders per hour basis. Another way we can look at ridership, again, to kind of help give some context to, what does 18 riders per hour mean? Well, another way we look at that is average daily ridership. And the slide that you have here in front of you now is essentially average daily ridership for the last 3 years, looking at it on a monthly basis. The red bar on your graph is the most recent year, FY 13-14. And really, I think the takeaway on this slide is if you look at the data, for FY 13-14, we averaged 10,145 passenger trips on a daily basis. You can see there's a couple of months there, August and September in particular, where we exceeded that average. But again, we're providing over 10,000 passenger trips a day with our bus service. And then the next slide quickly here is just a look at our Saturday service. We don't get to talk about Saturday service a lot, but obviously it's a very important part of the service that we provide, and you can see the ridership on Saturdays is roughly about half of what we see during the weekday. And then finishing up our discussion on ridership, I thought it might be interesting to share just a few details about, who's actually using our service, who are our riders. And you can see that between male and females, we have about a 50-50 split in terms of our ridership. And then if you look at the pie chart, you'll notice that as far as ages goes, our categories are pretty evenly distributed, with the exception of seniors 65 and over, and of course youth under the age of 18. Other than that, our riders come from all age groups within the city. And then this next slide is, I think, especially meaningful in that when our riders were asked, what they used our service for, you'll notice that between those using our service to get to full or part-time employment, that's about 49% of our ridership uses our service to get to work. And then if you'll notice the category there at 12% that indicates they're using our service to look for a job, if you combine all three of those categories, we're essentially at about 61% of our riders using our service for some type of employment activity. Real quickly, I will talk a little bit about a couple of programs that we have in place demonstrating our partnership with education in Oklahoma City. The first one is the Hall Pass program, and this is essentially a program that came out of the Joint Education Task Force and its partnership with Oklahoma City, COTPA, and the school district. And basically what the Hall Pass program is, it's a pilot program that we introduced to Emerson High School at the end of last fiscal year. Essentially what the program did was it allowed students of Emerson High School to be able to use our bus system, public transportation, at no cost. And so the advantage to the program is, one, for the school district, if we can get more students using our bus system, then theoretically that would free up some yellow bus service that they could use elsewhere. But then secondly, and I think most importantly, is it really just gives these students another option for transportation. So not only can they use our service to get to school, they can use that service to get to after-school activities, they can use that service to get to employment, even access medical care. So it really opens up a lot of options for the students, gives them a sense of independence and teaches them some life skills, and that this is how I can use public transportation to get to where I need to go. The program was received very well by Emerson High School, and so our plans for the upcoming school year is, one, we will make the program effective first of school for Emerson. So the program will be in force all year long at Emerson, We're looking at expanding the program to Capitol Hill, probably in the fall, and then potentially Douglas in the spring. And we are taking, and we're working with the school district to really take kind of a methodical approach in phasing in these additional schools as we can bring them online. Yeah, it is a neat name. Our marketing department came up with that, so got to give the kudos to them. All right, and the last program I'll talk about real briefly also is this is a partnership we've developed just recently with OCCC. OCCC is a good partner for us. They are very interested in promoting public transportation. We have 2 routes that currently serve the school, routes 12 and 13. And so we've worked with them to develop a program where they will sell our bus passes in their student store at a discount to the students. And then in turn, they are also going to provide some enhanced amenities at the bus shelter at OCCC and be able to broadcast some of our real-time bus arrival information throughout the campus. So it's a good thing for us in that obviously the idea is to help our ridership, but with our rebranding initiative, the more we can get our name out there, the better. So again, another good partnership opportunity.
They would sure be happy if we could figure out how to get just a little bit later service at night. I think we missed their last class by 30 minutes or something. So if you continue some dialogue with them, they might be able to help us financially a little bit or.
Yeah, we do fully intend on continuing that discussion with them, seeing what we can do. Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Next up is Debbie Martin to talk a little bit about our education.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be here today. I thank you for the opportunity to respond to support high quality public education. Our priority is public education that produces graduates who are prepared for future success, provide the foundation for a strong community. We must encourage accountability in public education and find new ways to partner with Oklahoma City Public Schools and other school district, business, and community groups to improve educational outcomes for our children. We actually use 2 different indicators to measure the progress in public education. Is that up there? Thank you. The first is the graduation rate for Oklahoma City Public Schools, and then secondly is the percentage of 3rd grade students reading at or above grade level. The first of these is actually based on the 3rd grade reading proficiency test. And as you'll see, the major Oklahoma City school districts that are included in the first statistical percentage includes Oklahoma City, Edmond, Middale, Moore, Mustang, Putnam City, and Yukon. We used as our baseline last year, because it was the first year that we had to report on this, the major school districts were at 78%. This year in 2013, which is the next available year for the Department of Education, was at 68.6, and I'm going to make a notation in just a moment because I was a little bit concerned about the drop. For Oklahoma City, I-89, it was at 62.8% in 2012 and fell to 49.9. In talking with the school officials, what I have learned is that the State Department of Education required that any child, regardless of the number of days at that elementary, as long as they participated in the testing, would be a part of that percentage. Secondly, any child with these English as a second language and also special education had to take the same 3rd grade test and were in fact represented in the calculation. So that's why we see major shifts both for the Oklahoma City school districts as well as I-89. I was very concerned about those particular measurements. And then the next progress indicator is related to graduation rates. As you see, again, the major Oklahoma City districts in 2011 were 86.3, and then 2012, 89.2, and for Oklahoma City it was 72.3, and then rose to 82.4. I'd like to talk a few minutes about our Joint Education Task Force, and I want to say at the first point of this is that This probably would not be possible without the long-term support of council members Pat Ryan and Pete White. But we did begin the task force in July of 2011, and we began meeting monthly as of August. So they've taken the long venture here in terms of this particular activity. The two objectives of this group are to establish a positive working relationship between the city and the school district, and to identify partnership opportunities, including business practices, student support, marketing, and operations. And I want to just share a couple of those initiatives with you today, and then the progress on those. One is accountability and transparency, and that has to do with our performance-based audit. I will tell you that both of the council members have been huge champions for this, because they believe that certainly for the school district to be successfully, they need to look at those things that they currently operate, both the educational program and business practices, for effectiveness and efficiency. Jim Williamson and certainly the council have provided information and met with several of the members of the school district in an effort to bring that forward. We are advised they have a vacancy announcement that's been posted for a performance audit director. There has not been a hire in that position as yet. The second item is the Oklahoma City Reading Buddies, and that really is about educational outcomes. We began in spring of 2012 at Heronville with a pilot program, and that was a school chosen by the district. That school had not ever had an adopter or anyone to help support the students in the school. We actually had 71 executive and top management employees participate in that, and gave 284 volunteer hours during that pilot program. And then in 2013, we developed a full program at Heronville, and then a spring program at Hayes. This last year, we actually had a full year program at Hayes and a half year at Heronville. I was interested and wanted to report in terms of those information from the principals about their outcomes on the third grade reading proficiency related to the 2014 spring. At Heronville, there were 40% of the children that passed the test at the time of the official testing. And as of yesterday, and this was out of 100 students, and as of yesterday, Mr. Hill reported only 22 of those students at this time would be held back. So that is, they worked very hard and diligently with those students over the summer. At Hayes Elementary, there were actually 60 third graders that were administered the test. 50% of those passed at the first testing, and as of yesterday, through Principal Ross, he told me 12 students of that 60 would be held back, but they continue to do testing for those. We hope, and certainly it's been the desire of Councilman White and Councilman Ryan, to be able to offer the replication of our program to other community groups. Unfortunately, that's not something that's been, the offer has been extended but not accepted at this point. Then the after-school program, we've worked for a long time on this with not a whole lot of success or certainly outcomes. The Parks Department and our community agencies, Boys and Girls Clubs, PAL, First Tee, all the others have certainly been engaged in that area. We have been advised, however, that as of spring of this year, that there was a survey taken of the 55 elementary schools, and they surprisingly learned that 78% of those elementary schools are doing something in after school. There has been a position approved for an after-school coordinator for Oklahoma City Public Schools. That hire is imminent, and what that individual will be doing is assessing what the needs are of the elementary schools that currently have programming, what they have, the frequency, and then to develop a plan for standardization and also frequency. The next item that we have on is the high school career academies. Those were actually implemented in the 2012-2013 year. There were 5 high schools that actually participated in that program with 200 students. In 2013-14, there were 624 students that participated, and there are 665 students that are enrolled for this year. The way that our city has graciously participated in that program, we have engineers, IT, human resources that are actually serving on the advisory boards for those academy high schools and their responsibilities have been to assist with integrated curriculum, work-based experiences, and learning opportunities and promoting partnerships in the local community. And then lastly, I would like to talk about transportation. I feel like this is really a success, and there are lots of thank yous, certainly to Jason and to Michael Scroggins and Debbie Anglin and Councilmember White and Ryan, and certainly to Dave Lopez, who kind of got it off of High Center along with Scott Lane. I was excited. We had actually 79 students in the spring that took advantage of the pilot program, and they created something that kind of unique to the Emerson program. We have a lot of expectant mothers and mothers with children who we wanted to ride the bus, some of whom had great concern about catching the bus or walking several blocks to catch that bus or walking from the terminal to the school. So they created an ambassador program, and each of those ambassadors knew the young women who were in his district. And so he was there to catch the bus with that student or those students and their children, and really serve as kind of an ambassador, because there was some concern and certainly some fear about that. As Jason said, they have 460 students at Emerson this year so far enrolled, which is a rather large number over last year. And we will certainly be transferring this program to other high schools, as Jason said. But I think it's important to also talk about outcomes. And one is that when Michael and I spoke about this proposal, it was something whereby we would measure, because we understand that academics are not going to be improved unless the student is in the classroom. So we'll be looking at average school attendance, increased ridership, a survey of the participants, and also the impacts to the district, both in terms of reduction of transportation costs and other resources. But there are some continuing challenges. One is administrative costs, and at some point, would that embark capacity of the buses exceed what we can handle? The school start time and the security at the transit center. But it's been my pleasure to share with you this morning, and I want to say that we could not do this. There are many, many partners and many staff that have been involved, so I want to take this opportunity to thank our city staff and certainly our department directors, and to Councilmember White and Ryan, and to the school board representatives who are Laura Massanat and Bob Hammock. Thank you very much.
And we also ought to give a big thanks to Debbie Martin. She's the glue that holds this thing together, and she's been a major positive force in this whole effort. So thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
And then lastly, under this area is Doug Cupper to talk about some wellness issues. You must have been like a legend in Wichita or something.
Thank you again for that, City Manager. Our priority indicators are regular people participating in regular leisure activities, whether it's through the public agencies or the nonprofits or private health clubs. Also, the percentage of citizens that live within a half mile of a recreational element, bike paths, walking trails, or if they're lucky and live in the older sections of the city, some of our unique parks. We have a success rate, as far as I'm concerned, a fairly decent success rate of 65.6% of our citizens participating on a regular basis in some kind of physical activity close to home or during their leisure time. Our target was 50%. I'd like to see our goal go up, our target go up from here as we offer more opportunities for our citizens to participate in recreational activities, and as well as developing further partnerships with some of the unique elements that the city of Oklahoma City offers. Recreation activities, these are the traditional things that everybody thinks about when they think about public parks and recreation. Athletics, it's your softball, your football, baseball, soccer, things along those lines. Our aquatics is reaching a pretty good section of our citizen base. We want to look at opportunities to try to increase our usability of our family aquatic centers even further than what they are. Recreation centers has a lot of room to grow. I think we have some good bones in our system. I think we've got some great recreation staff that have some unique ideas for programming going forward, and we're looking forward to some activities there. As it relates to athletics, we think with the coming of age of our Woodson Athletic Complex that's under construction right now, we can probably increase our participation in athletics alone by maybe 2 to 1, almost 3 to 1, with the advent of that athletic complex coming online. As I said, we have a lot of unique partnerships throughout the community. We want to expand upon those. We probably have about 50 partners, but as you can see on the slide, these are our biggest contributors, the Boys and Girls Clubs, obviously, the Young Men's Christian Association, and all the rest of these organizations are key to providing opportunities to our citizens, and we want to make sure that they stay healthy, they keep growing, and we can add some additional partnerships to the list going forward. And I think we went a long ways doing that with the first reading of the ordinance today and changing our rules as it relates to the usability of river corridor property. Communications is a big thing. One of the things that we've gleamed down to the fact is people don't know what we have to offer, and trying to get that word out and trying to figure out how to sell the product that we have to offer from a Parks and Rec perspective is a big thing. We took a step forward with our online registration system that we installed last year. We've got room for growth. We have the capability of actually offering 300 separate different programs through this online registration format. But we want to expand our presence on the Twitter following as well as Facebook friends. And we're really excited that we are moving forward with the city manager's folks on creating a new web base for our city and our citizens to participate and interact with us. I think that's an opportunity for us to expand even more of our offerings and our marketing abilities going forward for our recreation programs. As it stands right now, 45.3% of our folks live fairly close to some kind of recreational opportunity, be it a trail, be it a rec center, be it aquatic center, or even some of those private partnerships that we have. Currently, we're at 156 parks. We have 71 miles of trail systems, and our goal is to get to 200 miles. And again, the MAPS program is helping us with that quite extremely. We've got 11 recreation centers that we want to increase our program opportunities. And again, I think there's an opportunity with our senior centers. I think that we have a obligation to try to change the mindset of people of my age, that it isn't all about dominoes or checkers or bridge. There's rock climbing, there's kayaking, there's bicycling and things along those lines. We need to expand our horizons and help our baby boomers expand their horizons and their recreational activities. 58% of our people live within a half mile. I've already said that. We've got some new innovative things coming down the pike. We've got at least 2 more skate parks that we want to add for our younger people to participate in. Younger people, I'm talking, we've got some skateboarders out there that are 45 years of age and younger. So we want to make sure that we are providing across the center for the city for those type of activities. Since 1995, we've added 4 new parks: South Lakes, Route 66, Bluff Creek, and Kitchen Lake, which was just opened last month. We have approximately 170 projects yet to accomplish or to initiate as it relates to the last bond program. And as part of that activity and planning that with the acceptance by the City Council of the master plan for the park system, we've got a great tool to guide us into the next wave of improvements. It gives us a great business map for strategically renovating our department and get it in line with what the citizens think we should be doing and providing and opportunities that exist there. And we're excited that the City Council has embraced this, the community has embraced this plan, because if you don't have a plan, then you might as well stay home. We're not for that at all. We want to get out there and get after it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions?
Thank you, Doug.
All right, Doug, thank you.
Next up is an update on the MAPS 3 program. David Todd's here this morning.
Well, good morning. I'm glad to be here to give you this update on MAPS 3 program. I always feel like I need to put a slide on here that reminds everybody of what the projects are, but I'm sure you're well aware of the 7 project areas that we have. As far as finances, this is the latest report that was at the advisory board this past week. This is for the finances ending May 31st, 2014. You can see for the month we collected $9 million, which is very good. And you can see that for the total, we're 5.6% ahead of projections, with $407 million collected to date. Then you can see on the expenses of how much we're spending. I might point out that this month, the expenses for fairgrounds and river and trails, and I believe even maybe some sidewalks, well, not sidewalks, but most of that has been for the 1% for art. So I know Ms. Salyer was very glad to see that. But you can see where we are. We spent $57 million so far. Remember that MAPS 3 is all about the public involvement. And there's some pictures of some of the public meetings we've had and the consultant coordination meetings that we've had. But we have the Citizens Advisory Board, we have the subcommittee, then we have the public meetings, we've had stakeholder meetings, and we've had user group meetings. So a lot of interaction as the projects continue. And here's also the pictures that we had in December, I believe, of the I-44 trail, the public meeting that we had where everybody could come and give us their opinion on where this trail should go. And this trail extends from Lake Hefner all the way down to the river. So let's just start off with the park. You're aware of a 70-acre park split into 2 pieces. We've got the upper park, which is 40 acres, and the lower park, which is 30. This is a picture that's right from the master plan that you've seen. Upper park being much more active park, and the lower park being much more passive. And this is a isometric drawing from that master plan also, which shows the great lawn, the water feature that we'll have in there, and as I said, this northern edge there along the boulevard is much more active. There'll be a cafe and play equipment in that area, and a plaza, and a large fountain. And this is the kind of fountain that you can expect. It may not look exactly like this, but we expect a civic fountain somewhere along that edge, Robinson to Boulevard corner, somewhere in there. And then this is a picture of the promenade path, and this is standing from a little south of the boulevard, looking back towards the Skydance Bridge. So right now we're right in the middle of the design of the park. We've had a lot of activities already. We've purchased all but one little piece of the land that's still an ODOT piece that we're still working through, but essentially all the land is in city hands now. The federal post office has been removed, and you've approved the master plan. So Hargraves is, as I said, in the middle of the design, and we hope to have some plans to the subcommittee next month. Not necessarily as final, but it's their first view as to what's being done on that. Consultants are also working on the environmental issues in the area, and then also on the utilities. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes with the park. Streetcar, as you know, again, the streetcar is a rail-based streetcar, and it will be a modern streetcar, not a trolley. And I put these pictures in here in a lot of my presentations so that you can see what these modern streetcars look like. And I think as Mr. McAtee mentioned, they're very sleek, as he saw in the last few weeks, very sleek and modern-looking car. And then on the right is the typical interior of those cars. So it's not the old period trolley that you're used to. This is the route framework that you've approved and that we're working with, and consultants are working right now verifying utilities and just working out all the finer details with what needs to go on with the route. So as I said, the Jacob's team is working on the route. We've got the RFP for the cars coming to you in a few weeks. The subcommittee has approved a draft version of that. We've got a few details we need to fine tune, but that will be coming to you soon, and that'll allow us to go out for purchase of those cars, which is just a part of the overall project. Also, the hub project is moving along, and that's being administrated through Public Works, but that is going really well, I think as well as expected. So the next stage of this is after the cars are selected, then we will get into the full design of the tracks. Convention Center, $252 million convention center, exhibition halls, meeting rooms, ballrooms. I think most of you are very familiar with that. As you know, the site has been selected, and a consultant was selected for the conceptual plan because our concern was that the consultants were working in vacuum, so to speak. So we've got the convention center consultant on early to do the conceptual work, and he has done a great job. Also, in conjunction with that, we've got an area study going on with the Alliance, and that's some of the work that's going on right now. We hope to have this conceptual study wrapped up in the next 60 days or so, and then we will begin full design of the convention center. This is one of the drawings, or the drawing that came out of the conceptual plan, just giving you an idea and remind you of where that convention center might be sited, and that's where we think is best to be sited, the red line or the exhibit halls. And the reason that red line is on there is because in order to get a 360-degree building, like we all want, where we don't have the loading docks and those things visible, that the exhibit halls and the loading docks will be underground. And this is a section through the building of what we anticipate this to look. Of course, it will evolve as we continue into final plans, but this is what has come out of the conceptual design. Oklahoma River is a project that's broken into 4 phases. Phase 1 has been completed halfway. The windscreen is on temporary hold right now. Phase 2, the starting systems have been purchased. And Phase 2, all the other pieces, especially lighting, the docks, the race course cameras, the race course itself, that's all under construction. Some of it's been complete, but they're getting towards the end of construction right now. Phase 3 is the whitewater facility. You probably saw that the numbers came in high. We're working through that right now to determine what the reason was for those numbers that came in like they did. I'm meeting with the consultant after this meeting to talk about that. And Phase 4 is...
Obviously, that was, that's large. The mayor's word was hiccup, and I think he may have been kind, but the fact of the matter is we are going to go back in, we're going to reevaluate and find out what it is. We will have a whitewater facility there that I think meets our original scope. We just don't know exactly where some of the adjustments have to be made to come in.
Phase 4 is additions and additional things like grandstands and stages, but that is much further out into the program. So, as I said, right now, the Phase 2 is under construction. The lighting has been completed, and the race course windscreen is in design, but it's on hold right now, and as we mentioned, the whitewater facility will be looked at. This is a picture of the lighting that we have at the river, that we have completed. And this is the only flatwater racing course in the world that has permanent lighting. All the other courses have portable lighting if they do it at night. Overall view of the river area, and you can see the boathouses, and this is a future view, anticipated boathouses, and you can see where the whitewater facility is planned to go. Moving on to the fairgrounds, $58 million. We have two projects at the fairgrounds. The first one was new parking, where the former racetrack was. That's been completed. If you haven't been out there, you ought to go see it if you love to look at big parking lots. Us engineers like big parking lots. That has been completed, and the expo building will bid on Thursday. So the expo building is about 300,000 square feet of exposition center. You can see the picture on the right. That's the expo building if the roof were removed, and you can see how it might be laid out for a boat show, and those are fairly large boats in the model there. This is always an enlightening picture to me. Anyway, you can see the existing travel and transportation building underneath there, and then you can see the new building that's superimposed on there, and it's about 2.5 times as big as that TNT building. So it will be quite a dramatic change. Health and wellness, as you know, $52 million for as many as 4 wellness centers. I'm happy to report that the wellness centers are going well right now. As you know, we've identified 2 partners that have been absolutely great to work with. We've also got 2 architects on board, and as I said, it really couldn't be going better right now. You saw 2 weeks ago the preliminary layout of that first wellness center. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and I can't wait for that to be completed. So that one is nearing preliminary report stages. The second one is about 60 days behind it. So you should be seeing both of those real soon. We anticipate that construction would start in early 2015 on the first wellness center. Trails, $39 million for additional trails, and the trails have been patterned after the existing trails master plan. This is really hard to see in this room, but the reddish colored trails are the trails that are in the MAPS 3 program, and there's 3 phases with 4 different trails. Right now, the one that goes out along the river from Meridian out to Lake Overholser is under construction and going well. The second one that is in design right now is in the conceptual alignment stage is the I-44 trail, which extends from the river up to Lake Hefner along the I-44 corridor. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be on I-44, but it'll be in that general area. Certainly a different type trail than the one that's on the river. The one on the river is out among trees and very uninterrupted, and that I-44 trail is right among the houses and the businesses. Then phase 3 is the airport trail, which extends from airport, well, through the airport area. Looks like from about I-240 on down south, or I'm sorry, I-40, I-240 south. And then the other trail is around Lake Draper. So as I said, the river trail is under construction, going well. The I-44 trail is in design, and we've had a lot of public meetings for citizens to give us their input on where they think that trail should be. Let's go to sidewalks. Originally, $9 million of sidewalks, and council authorized us to spend another $9 million on sidewalks. This is a picture of one down South Penn as it was under construction. It is now complete, but I don't think you can go anywhere in the city now and not see sidewalks being built. And I think that's a great thing, either projects that we're doing or projects that Public Works is doing. We have 3 packages that are actively under construction. We have a 4th package of sidewalks that was bid last week that came in under budget that will begin construction within the next few weeks. And then we have another whole phase of sidewalks that are in design. And we anticipate another package out here in the next 60 days or so. And I'll just show you some pictures of some of the sidewalks that were built, various parts of the city. Different character, some of them straight, some of them not so straight. So subcommittees continue to meet, advisory board continues to meet, and we continue to proceed right along the project timeline. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right.
Really, just a comment, David. I don't think we can say enough times how hard the volunteers are working on each of these subcommittees. I have the opportunity this year to be the council observer. I know lots of my colleagues have done that as well. And the energy in every one of those meetings is super high. These folks are so committed to making sure that we deliver to the citizens not just what we promised, but more than what we promised. They're really trying to keep the bar high. And I think it's important to note, even with the Whitewater hiccup, we've had those before. And I think the most recent one is the Sports Facilities Trust. That 15-month tax came in about $10 million short of where we thought collections would be. And we were able to value engineer the work that was done both at the Chesapeake Arena and the practice facility. And we've got great product for it. So, I want to encourage everybody not to panic. We have a lot of experience in value engineering and taking a hard look at projects that come in over budget and delivering a great product. So I just want to thank all the volunteers that are working on each of these committees. I think there are 80 of them. And it's just really impressive to see how everybody's coming together.
Thank you.
Revenue still looks good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, revenue solid.
Any other questions for David? Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up is a report regarding advanced life support with the fire department. And we've gone over the years, we keep implementing new stations with ALS every year, and we've typically done it based upon the calls for service at those fire stations. And Chief Bryant has taken a look at how to do that a different way, and that would be based upon response times. I know Councilman White has questioned this process over the years, and so as we're getting down to the last six stations, Chief Bryant is suggesting a modification of that implementation schedule.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to be with you this morning to discuss this. As the manager was saying at our budget presentation in May, we had a discussion about ALS implementation, and by your direction, we've taken a fresh look at that as far as the criteria that we've used in the past, which, as Mr. Couch said, was based on total call volume of each engine. Obviously, the good news is, we're at 29 of our 37 engine companies right now that have been converted from basic life support capable to advanced life support. So the end's in sight. But based on a few factors, and again, based on your direction in May, we've taken a fresh look at that. We used a few data points to relook at this, namely call priority or severity. Some of the latest response trends were looked at, but this was very heavily weighted toward ambulance wait times in the areas not currently covered by advanced life support engines. And so the chart that's in your city manager's report, you can see that the result of that has given us the order of priority that we have. This basically, it would put Station 28, Station 27, Station 32 would be the next three ALS engines, according to this new methodology. So if you approve of this, this is the way we'll go forward. From this point, we think this is logical. We think it makes sense, especially with the new response time criteria that were put in place in last November with the new ambulance contract. And we're very comfortable, I think, and right now probably going forward and going ahead and converting Station 28 right now, and then probably take a look at after the next recruit class graduates, which should be shortly after the first of the next year, that we could probably go ahead and do 27s as well. It's always has been dependent on the number of paramedics that we have available. Right now, we have about 184. We need to be at 216. We continue to do our best to try and recruit and hire paramedics in our recruit academies, and that's where we get the majority of them in this time frame. I think all of our incumbent members that have expressed an interest of that, we put them through the training, and we've done about as good as we can in that realm. So it's basically now down to the hiring process as far as the additional paramedics that we need. And in a class of about 25 recruits, we average about 3 to 4 paramedics per class. So with that, be glad to answer any questions. Yes, sir?
Yeah, Larry?
Great, John.
Go ahead.
Chief, a number of years ago, we had a medical control director named Dr. Saker.
Yes, sir.
You and I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And he had some opinions or some recommendations concerning the deployment of ALS. We now have some new evidence-based medicine from that time, because this was several years ago. We also have a new medical control director, Dr. Goodlow.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be beneficial or not to include him in the prioritization of the deployment of these, or would they probably end up with the same list in the same order that you've got right here?
We consult with them on those very things continually. They have there's a meeting that goes on monthly between the people in the system in the Tulsa area and our representatives here, Medical Control Board, and we bring these issues up. Dr. Goodlow has been consulted on this.
That's all I need.
Yes, sir.
A quick question, Chief. Which station is in Ward 7?
Station 27 and Station 4 are the two stations in Ward 7 that currently are not at ALS capable. So we have 2 more to go. And obviously by the chart, Station 4, it's the one in the very far out in the northeast quadrant that shows to be the 6th. Station 26 on the chart obviously is the new station that we just opened in Ward 3. We don't have any good data to analyze at this point on that, but as we go along, it could change based on their call volume and their ambulance wait times in those areas.
In 27 would go ALS in January.
I would say after the first of the year, roughly, yeah, when we get the recruit class graduated and get those paramedics out there on the street, we could probably go ahead and upgrade that station.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chief, while we had, I think we'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the tennis center. I know there was an overnight fire. I don't know if you've had a chance to get any information.
Not a lot so far. In fact, I talked to the new parks director about that this morning, and so I'll get an update on that. But my understanding was it wasn't a total loss. So again, because of the time of day, it was obviously some damage there. But
talking about the pro shop area at the tennis center at 39th and Portland, 36th and Portland.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
A couple other things I'd like to highlight as we go down. Hotel collections, year ending June 30th, 2014. I mean, it was up 7.3% for the year. I don't think I need to add much to that. It was
really good.
It was a solid year. But I do want to spend a minute on the July sales and use tax collections. It was 5.7% year to year for the month, which is solid. But what I really want to highlight is how we're projecting our sales tax growth through this year. Last year, we talked about how we were going to have stronger growth in the fourth quarter, which occurred. And so this year, we think we're good enough that we can project the percentages per quarter as we go forward. I'm not sure we are, but we're going to give it a shot. And so based upon the information we see from our economists, we're looking at 3.9% for the first quarter, 2.9% for the second quarter, 4.5% for the third quarter, and then down to 0.1% for the fourth quarter. They anticipate things will slow down next spring.
And that's growth, right?
That's growth.
Yeah, so they'd be projecting it against that strong fourth quarter that we had this year.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And it's the average of those altogether is 2.8%. But that's just how we're allocating it based upon what our economists think that the growth will be throughout the next fiscal year.
Okay.
A lot of things factor on that, but generally we just go straight across the board.
It's the first year you've broken it down by quarter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions on city manager reports before we move on? Yeah. All right, citizens to be heard. And Glenn and you and Anna want to come up. Thanks for your patience. Morning.
Introduce myself with the address and everything?
Yeah, we got it the first time, so you're good.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about which property?
My burn property that happened on March 27th. And when I was here on the hearing, as far as the the dilapidation hearing for it to be torn down. My shop on the property is unit number 5, and I have pictures here, and I wanted to present them to Mr. Bumpus and the mayor and Mr. Pettis. I thought it was about 5 people. I didn't know. That's the structure as it exists today. I am self-employed. That is my shop where I did my work out of, and I rented out the other 4 that perished in the fire. And basically, I have, during the dilapidation hearing in April, I'm very much for cleaning units 1 through 4 off the property. I'm in the process of doing that as we speak. I still need my unit number 5 that did not burn, and that's why I presented the pictures to the city council today. And I was very confident that I would be able to do so. During this process, I have to wait on certain signatures from all the utility companies, and I also had to receive and obtain an asbestos report that is required before I can remove any type of material from the property. And I did obtain that as well, and received my permit to go ahead with the removal and the demolishing or the removal of the material that has to go. And I believe that my wanting to sustain the unit number 5 and remove got lost in the translation as to the demolishing. So the whole building is set to be demolished, and it was not made specific as to, or reduced to writing as to which would be survived in this process. So since I've been able to obtain the permit to remove I want to say debris. I wanted to show that I wanted to present to the, I forget I'm blanking out here a little bit. I wanted to present to the development department that I was making progress, but at the same time, I needed this authorization from the city actually to absolutely remove anything from that. So I did receive it. I have started the removal, and at the same time wanting to make or receive assistance from the city council to make or help me make the development department understand that my shop did survive, and I am very much in favor of removing all the rest of the stuff that did not survive and beautifying Northeast 23rd, because I have owned the building for approximately 15 years. I do support the thing that's going through Mr. Pettis's department. I understand that there's loans for business owners that's on 23rd, and I think I overheard Mr. Ian Colgan of the planning department earlier, who spoke earlier, saying that, that is basically one of the targeted areas for and I'm very much in support of that. So once this portion of my adventure is over with, I intend to contact Mr. Pettis's office and Mr. Colgan to find out what it is that I need to obtain and be directed towards to go in that department. To go in that area.
Well, have you been working with staff on this?
I have met with Mr. Bumpus. I think we spoke for about 2 hours, and basically it was just that one portion that we had an impasse at. That the Unit 5, there were some there were some, you couldn't make the distinction. I had a food unit bus in there. You couldn't make the distinction as to what portion of the property was absolutely destroyed. And once that was removed, those are the resulting pictures, and to show that it was distinctive in its own way, by itself, solitary. The fire did not destroy it at all. And basically, my issue is that, and request for assistance is to assist me in helping showing that the.
Okay. Jim, you want to give us some direction here, because this is obviously not on the agenda, and he's here for citizens to be heard.
Yeah. Danny, is Building 5 salvageable, or Bob?
This gentleman received the original 30 days after council declared it, and we gave him another 30-day extension to try to work this out. Basically, he has part of this building that we feel, before we could approve a plan for a remodel, needs to have engineering certification because of the damage that was done to it. And that's the part we don't agree on. He feels like that part of the building didn't sustain enough damage that would create a problem to remodel it and occupy it again. I've talked to my chief plans examiner, and he submitted a permit on Thursday, and we're going to require a certificate from the engineer for the remodel of that piece of the property. You've seen these pictures. There was a lot of damage done, and we're really not comfortable that it would be safe until we have an engineer that tells us that those walls have, you can actually remodel that space. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of things on his plans. We haven't reviewed them yet, but we looked at them prior to the meeting here. And he wants to leave a couple of walls on the front, and the overlay on 23rd Street doesn't allow storage, as that's part of the restriction. So that, he couldn't do that as part of the permit anyway. So, we've given him extra time to try to work this out. We've already issued a demolition permit to with our contractor, so that's in the works right now. We're willing to talk to him a little bit more, but we're not comfortable that building.
Yeah. John, you want to interject anything in here?
If you can continue to talk with him, I support small businesses, so if you can continue to talk, see, I can work things out, but it may become a time where it may not be salvageable, because I was actually there the night that your building got burnt down, because I received a phone call saying that some buildings on fire on Northeast 23rd Street. We had over 100 firefighters that night after fighting that fire. So if you can continue to work with staff will work with you to try to get something resolved, but it may come to a point where it may not meet staff's approval. But again, continue to work with staff. Staff will work with you to see if we can get the issue resolved.
Yeah, I doubt we're going to budge on the engineering requirement, if that's your hope.
Well, I understand completely. I invited Development Services out to actually tour the inside of the building that I just presented to the council. And in addition to that, I did have also the head building inspector, the head water inspector, the head electrical inspector, and they were in the process of issuing me, proceeding the inspections where I could have my electric turned back on so that I could, my water turned back on so that I could actually have good access to cleaning up and getting rid of the burned up part. And if the walls are an issue, I have no problem with having those demolished as well and putting up whatever the permits department will allow me to have as that is an issue. Okay. I have no problem with it whatsoever.
This is really none of my business, but it sounds like you ought to get rid of 1 through 4
yes,
as quickly as possible. And
Absolutely. I'm working on that. Matter
then
of
let
fact,
staff help you deal with 5 if it's salvageable or not.
okay.
You
Okay.
understand,
That's
Steve,
what I'm hearing.
We want you to be successful. We want this to be a viable business, but we have responsibilities to the people that own property around your building.
Yes, sir.
That it return to its prior state or some new state that's acceptable. So, I mean, that's why we're pushing. And you can obviously understand the safety concerns of a structure. If we're going to have people inside it, we've got to make sure that it lives up to the standards that we've set. We are policy driven. So I'm going to urge you to continue to work with staff and keep in touch with your councilman down there as things proceed.
He's going to lock me out of his office. But I do intend to do so.
Well, okay. And I appreciate that. But
thank you very much for listening.
In general, I mean,
Yes,
this council supports what the staff is telling you. So, work with them, and there's no need to try and do an end run with us. If you can satisfy them, you're going to satisfy us.
I understand.
All right.
Thank you very
thanks.
much.
Good luck to you. Okay. Joe Sarge Nelson.
Good morning, Council. My name is Joe Sarge Nelson. If you'll bear with me, I have some photographs I'd like.
Okay.
Also, during this conversation, this will probably be a distasteful thing for you all, but I hope not. But I'm going to explain. There's the good, the bad, the ugly. Everybody knows that. And the city council, in my opinion, tries to do as much good for the city as they can. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I represent the bad and the ugly, and I try to bring it to the city to correct those things. In the past, I've been real belligerent about the way I've been doing things, but my health's made a good turnaround, and I'm doing some strong things. Now, just recently, I picked this up out of the Gazette. You all know who he is, and I'm one of these, I don't mix words. His name is Jeff Bezdek. He's a clown. 32-year-old, talking about how our streets and everything like that, building, oops, excuse me, I'll pick that up in a minute. Could be the streets are the best way and all this sort of stuff. He talks about ODOT and a few things. Those pictures show that those bridges and those impellers are 100% illegal by the city's charter and by ODOT. And I did pull the book up and went down and checked with ODOT, this book right here, and showed them those pictures. And that car there is the only way you can see traffic coming either way. You'd have to be driving a semi tall enough to see the traffic coming both ways. That's in violation of the American Disability Act. That's ODOT. And this man here, the only reason I have a little trouble with him is he's been behind the streetcar, knows nothing about it except what he's read. The streets, he knows absolutely nothing, and I am an engineer, and I have credentials to that effect. I've been doing it for 61 years. Streets, highways, parking lots. I built the Buffy bicycle plant many years ago in Kate County. I've helped lay asphalt 1,081 miles. I built 2 schools, and the list goes on and on and on. But if you'll bear with me, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to only borrow you a minute of those 3 minutes, and that's as far as I go. As you all know who I'm back. I'm only going to pick on the bad things and allow you people to make them good as best you can. You're only limited to what you can do. But anyway, you're all aware of the years past, the stuff that I've been doing, making a fool out of myself, coming up here biting everybody and make Mrs. Kersey mad at me and naturally you. I spent a lot of my inheritance and what is left, I'm looking into things to make the city better. I owe it to the people of the city. I live here. This is my home. I owe it to my home, if nothing else. Now, I took part in nearly all the investigations in the past, and if you're looking for an scapegoat, you've got one, me. In my investigations, I did connect the dots, like A connects to B and the C, and so on. So, but you can think what you wish, and remember that dots don't lie. I see you have your sidekick, Jeff Bezdek, as I just talked about, apparently on either the payroll or just running his mouth in general, and if so, he needs to go to school to make himself better because he's in the production type business and certainly not an engineer where his mouth seems to violate his brain. And which Jeff, knowing nothing about the streets or much less how to build them, yet his article in the Gazette on June the 14th, last month, was, or if you've seen it, to me it's been rehearsed because I've built roads, highways, parking lots, foundations for schools, and even a police station. And not to mention or leave out 6 airports, several apartment complexes, and went to college to learn my trades in other fields. Vox, according to what I have learned, is a production-style company similar to that of our own mayor, nothing resentful. And our mayor, in my opinion, does not go around practicing on things, in fact, that he knows very little about. Compliment you there. I myself, pray tell, you leaders of this city have done all you can do. But like I said, this man here, he's talked about the Santa Fe station, the streetcar, and other issues, and he really has created a resentment as far as I'm concerned. He knows nothing about what he's talking about.
Joe, thanks very much.
Okay, one last thing.
Okay.
On your MAPS 3 project that you had up here on the deal, I was out at the Hepner on the south side. Your huge 3-by-sign MAPS 3 trail sign is covered in weeds, and I'm trying to figure out where the trails start and ends. But anyway, if y'all will work with me, I'll work with you, okay?
All right. Thanks, Joe. We have executive session. We'll be back.